Alright guys, Cop Cutlass checking in here. It's hotter than fuck today. It is probably in the mid-90s today. I don't know how warm is my garage. I don't know if you guys can make that out. It's about 85 degrees in here. And you might think to yourself, why am I working with the door closed? I actually create a bigger draft with this combination because if it's all the way open, air just becomes stagnant here. So I picked up some headers from Dr. Dan, Oldsmobile guy, for an A body, big block headers. So if I ever plan on running that big block or a big block down the road, I got something to work with. They need some cleanup, but fairly solid overall. Run stand headers, which are small block headers, just stuff I'm putting away I brought back from the shop. I brought the big 5-gallon container of carb cleaner that we had at work so I can clean this carb, which is the whole purpose of today's video. I'm going to be rebuilding the 950 Holley, HP Holley, for the, I believe it's an HP, yeah, it's an HP, 4150, it says HP right there. I'm going to be rebuilding it so that we can have it ready for the big block. You know, I got my cookie trays here that I like to use for parts, and I'm going to be dunking that shit over there. That stuff is nasty, man. It's stronger than the little can I had. I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to take it apart. You know, I acquired a couple of new tools for the garage, and by acquire, I mean like I got to bring them home from my toolbox. So a little impact driver, a little screw gun. These are very helpful tools. I'm going to be using them here for the first time at home, really. I upgraded. I've had these for 7 years now. This one's at least almost 10. I got this when it first came out. Actually, these were on a 7.2 volt and they quickly upgraded to 14.4. So, nice little tool to have. I'm going to take this apart, clean it up, show you guys what we got going inside. Much like the other rebuilds, you know, the 650, that's actually what we ended up using for the run stand on the big block. It worked very well. Eric had some problems with it running on his car. It worked for us. I checked the fuel float level. The idle air, the idle mixture screws were a little off, so that's probably why it didn't run well for him. The 850 Demons here, and we know that works. You guys saw that video. If not, you can go back and watch that. I tried it out on the small block and I got it to work. Our trusty rebuild kit from O'Reilly's for people who say that it's hard to get carburetor parts. If you have an Edelbrock or a Holley, these are readily available at most O'Reilly's parts stores across the country. So, the argument that snipers are reliable is kind of funny if you guys walk over to the Facebook pages and see how much people are having problems with them. And I tell people, if you get a bad needle and seat, guess what? I go pick that up for 50 bucks at the local O'Reilly's, or even just carry one in the car, like a smart person should. I actually have a few spare carburetor parts in the car, and you know, boom, you got that. So I'm gonna get to it, take it apart, show you guys how it looks inside. He had it running in the car not too long ago, so there shouldn't be much surprises, and it only saw race gas. So this is going to be a nice, pretty straightforward rebuild. I'll let you guys go. I'm gonna get to it. Man, the excitement never stops. I was about to do this portion of the video and my phone goes off. Burglar alarm is going off at the shop, and since I live the closest to the shop from anybody else, I had to run out there and make sure that nobody was breaking in. Funny enough, I open up the gate and the cops leave. Like, aren't you supposed to go back there with me? Whatever. It turned out to be a huge spider sitting on the alarm monitor thing. So, alright, so I got this apart, and a couple of things that I wanted to note to you guys. You see the throttle plates on this carburetor are drilled out. So when you got a camshaft with a lot of overlap, sometimes it takes a lot to get it to idle, and if you expose too much of this idle transfer slot here, which on the back side you could see it, like you could see the little daylight on the like bottom corner here, like right on the center of my finger, on that side as well. That's the fuel transfer slot. If it's exposed too much, you get an overly rich idle. So when you crack open your fast idle on the primary and it's too much, well, you can always go back. And on the Holleys, this it's not that one. Where is it? Unless this is a slightly different style than what I am accustomed to. Let's find it here. Okay, this is the secondary idle screw. On the HP carb, it's right here. The primary is going to be somewhere over here. Or did I look at this wrong? No, that's the primary side. I got this backwards, damn it. And either way, there is a secondary throttle idle adjustment. Yeah, it's right here. It's on this one. This one's slightly different than what I'm used to. Like on... Let me see if on the quick fuel it's like that, but on my Holley, like on this one here, you see that little screw on the base plate? That's your secondary idle adjustment to open up the secondary plates. If the front one is exposed too much and you got an overly rich condition at idle, that's the way you could adjust that on a conventional Holley. It's a little different on the HPs now, I guess. I just found that out. But that's what those are for. You can buy them pre-drilled, or you can do what I did, and I drilled mine slowly until I found a spot where they were happy. Overall, it's pretty clean. This is going to be pretty straightforward rebuild. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple more parts off of it, and then get it dunked and let it sit for a little bit while I put some shit away. And then I will talk about a couple of the things that I should probably bring up, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Alright, so before I completely dunk this, I wanted to show you guys something. I know you guys have probably heard me talk about carburetors having jet extensions. Well, the whole concept here is, let's say this is your carburetor, and this is your regular jet setup, right? So, if you can imagine these two, I'm going to try to keep them separated. When the car launches, the carburetor does this. The fuel goes all the way to the back of the fuel bowl, possibly getting away from the jet. So the jet extensions maintain the fuel, the jet in the fuel, so that when the car launches and it tilts and the fuel sloshes back, it doesn't get out of it and you don't end up with any lean spots. This can happen on cars that launch really hard, or the cars that like do big wheelies. It's a cheap upgrade that any Holley should get if your carburetor doesn't already have it. Some higher end race carbs have them. This one, obviously, it was either added or it came with it. My HP did not have it. I added them. The quick fuel that I rebuilt, that I got under the bench, had it, and it had the neoprene or plastic float bowl that's notched for the jet extensions. You have to use that as well. Usually comes as a little kit. It's a cheap little upgrade that guarantees that when the car launches, it won't, the fuel won't get out of the jet, so that it doesn't suck in air versus fuel. So, and there's different varieties of carburetors for different uses. Like, they got the solid tube with the hole vented over the top, which some guys will run a piece of hose across the top so that when the car launches, the fuel doesn't push out of the fuel vent into the carb and it bogs, so that way it transfers, and then you just cut a little opening at the top. I do that on mine as well. So just little things like that you'll see a lot of drag racers do, racers in general doing, and there's all kinds of different carburetor configurations for different uses. For us, this is a standard bread and butter high performance Holley it's got the typical mods for drag racing. So I'm going to dunk this now, not like last time. Alright, so you guys can see how nice and clean everything came out. It's got that classic Holley look, as long as you're not too abrasive with it. See, it's got a nice shine of the original anodized finish, whatever they do. It's got that nice aged look to it. Usually the classic Holleys tend to look like that, the classic series that aren't polished or anything. Cleaned up really nice. Once I got it out of the dunk tank, I sprayed a little kerosene. I brushed it down with a stainless steel brush. Blew through everything. Used a little brake cleaner to clean off all the chemicals off of it, and now we're pretty much ready for assembly. So we're going to bust open our kit, replace whatever we got. I think the standard power valve is a 6.5. That should be what's in the kit. That's what's in here. This is good, but we're going to go ahead and replace it. I still got a couple of gasket surfaces to clean. Right here, I got to scrape these off with a little razor blade. But you want to check that. You don't want to leave any gasket residues, so I got to do some final touch-up cleaning, and then do our base settings for the float bowls, and then we're all set. So I'm going to go ahead, start getting this thing together, and then I'll show you the finished product. Alright guys, so I like to separate my parts. With this particular rebuild kit, which is actually made by Edelbrock, the part number is 12760. You get various different gaskets, so I like to separate them and get everything ready. So I got my metering block and float bowl gaskets here. I got my accelerator pumps. This 950 still has 2 regular 30cc pumps, and the main body one's specific to the body, so you got to check it, make sure the holes line up. If there is a hole that doesn't line up, it won't work right. This one in this case has a couple of holes that don't do anything, but that's fine as long as everything is where it should be and you're not, covering anything up that should be exposed. So pay attention to that. And then in this kit, it's weird because it comes with a set for a double pumper, so you got a couple extra gaskets here, and then a set for a single style. So you get 2 corks and 1 rubber umbrella for the accelerator pump circuit. So if you look in this bag, you got 2 in here. This is exactly why I opened up my carb box. I'm going to show you guys. This is what I bring with me to the track. I've learned in the past, and I do save good old parts because you never know when someone at the track can use something like this. So I saved all the accelerator pumps from carburetors that I've rebuilt that are still good. Before you run these, what I have been told is you can soak them up with just a little bit of gasoline so they don't go in totally dry, or something petroleum based that won't screw up your gas. And you go ahead and you can run them because the rubber can dry out. But these are all good. They had no tears, and the gasket here on this one's a little bit broken, but it's on the outer edge. But you never know when somebody can need it, and I got the extra float bowl from when I went to the jet extensions on my 750 in here. And then I got all of the leftover gaskets from the rebuild kits. So there's like 4 kits worth right there of gaskets I didn't use. I got a 50cc accelerator pump kit there. I got a bunch of needle and seats. Those 2 are used but in really good shape. I got an assortment of pump cams. I got a couple of AN fittings. I got a couple of 50cc accelerator pumps in there. I got 2 power valves. The original shooters out of my 750, which I believe are 31s. No, the 35s. I thought they were 31s. And so yeah, I got a little bit of everything. So that I got a jet box there. That's a whole jet assortment. I even got the Donald cable for the AFR gauge. I got a spare set of float bowl gaskets and a couple of base plate gaskets. I got a thermostyle gasket isolator. So just a couple things I carry with me that I've learned to have with me. When I did the carburetor testing at the shop, this is what I had, and this is what got me set up with that. It doesn't have to be as extensive, but having all these pieces really helps dial in a carburetor. So I just wanted to show you guys that real fast. Alright guys, so the carburetor is done. You can see it's nice and clean compared to earlier. Everything works as far as like what I'm looking for. I got the idle fuel mixture screws a turn and a half out. I like to go from there. I think it's like 2 to 2.5, but I like to start them there. I'd rather start the engine and work my way back if I need to. Now I wrote down the jets, the primary side and the secondary side, what they had. The other thing is, you might see this mark here. This main body was Healy coiled on all 4 corners, so this carb was already rebuilt at some point, and I can only get so much bite out of the screw. This Healy coil was damaged. All the other ones were fine. It's just enough bite to get me by, but what I was looking for was a nice even gasket crush. Hopefully we get no fuel leak out of the bolt. There is seals there, so my hope is that we're good. If not, then we're gonna have to find a Healy coil kit for that, just to have it. But at this point, it's done. It's together, so parts don't get lost. I kept all the old stuff. The gaskets are junk, but the needle and seats were pretty clean. They weren't high flows or anything. They're just standard 110s. I kept the power valve. That's still good, but I put the new one in anyway. I got miscellaneous seals for the box yet again. And one quick tip while I got it here. I figured I'd show you guys. So the cylinder head accessory bolt, this thread is the same thread as your camshaft. So if you need to install it, you can use this before you put the cylinder heads on. The fine thread is the same thread as the fuel eccentric bolt, and you got a handle. So before I forget, I've been meaning to show you guys that. But either way, it's done. It's nice. It's clean, and this is destined for that big block. But it turned out great. You could see it's nice and clean. And yeah, so share, like, subscribe. I know I've done a couple carburetor videos for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy them. I'm not by any means a pro, but I have managed to get by with what I know. So I'll let you guys go.